Good morning. Welcome to the Columbus Chamber of Commerce's CEO Insight Series. I'm Brian Johnson, partner at Plant Moran, a longstanding supporter of the CEO Insight Series. Plant Moran is a full-service CPA and business advisory firm. Locally, we're providing assurance, tax, wealth management, and several other consulting services. As we prepare for continued growth, we focus on taking care of our clients, our staff, and making our community better. And we're excited to bring in 10 summer interns representing all the firm's major business areas. As a reminder, today we will pick 10 random registrants from today's program to present Crimson Cup Coffee and Tea gift cards and coffee. Thank you to Greg Hubert and his team at Crimson Cup Coffee and Tea for this generous gift. Be sure to stick around for our closing comments from Pat Cornelius this morning as he will announce the winners. Today, we're looking forward to an engaging and insightful conversation between Raymont Harris and the esteemed Colleen Marshall. Raymont is a former NFL running back, Ohio State Buckeye, and founder of Elite Mindset and Performance. He speaks to companies, associations, athletic programs, and leaders who want a real approach to mindset, pressure, and performance. After playing for the Chicago Bears, bear down, Green Bay Packers, and other NFL teams, Raymont shifted from the field to leadership development. He spent more than 15 years inside Ohio State's athletic department, advising executives, coaches, athletes, and major donors with helping raise over $100 million in philanthropic support. His work gave him a direct look into how high performers think, respond to adversity, and rebuild and reach new levels. Raymont is the author of Control the Controllables, a framework built from his experiences growing up in Lorain, pushing through the NFL, and rebuilding himself during the hardest seasons of life. His message connects because it is lived, not memorized. He speaks on leadership, mindset, pressure, resilience, and performance, delivering a real voice that audiences feel. Through EMP and the EMP Collective, Raymont coaches high performers, builds leaders, and helps teams create cultures rooted in belief, effort, and accountability. He also serves through the Jean and Raymont Harris Foundation, supporting families facing maternal health challenges and former athletes navigating life after sports. Raymont is a graduate of The Ohio State University. Away from the stage, he brings balance into his life through golf, travel, and enjoying the fine arts of cigars and bourbon. Please join me in welcoming Colleen Marshall and Raymont Harris to our stage.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We really hope you're enjoying the Ohio weather. Thank you so much for coming in to talk to us about everything, especially leadership and your very long journey. He's been a guest at the station. I told him, people in the sports department, get people that everybody's excited to see and happy to be with, and so excited Raymont's in the building.
Yeah.
And then I bring politicians in and everybody turns their head the other way. But why don't you talk, let's just talk first about your philosophy, because you do, as we heard, emphasize leadership, mindset. How did you develop that? How did you become the Raymont that you are today?
Well, thank you, Colleen, for that question, and taking me back to the good old days, visiting the news station and being able to talk about sports has always been like something that I've been very fond of. And it's really been instrumental in my life and getting to the point in the space where we're sitting here today. I guess like when I really think about my life and how I got to be me, it's I spent so much of my life chasing validation and chasing love and wanting to make my father proud. And I realized that that was a failed mission for me, because unfortunately it never really clicked for him. So once I changed the way that I moved, once I started to pay attention to the things that I could control, I realized how much my life really started to open up and develop, and it also allowed me to be more powerful. So once that started to happen, things in my life changed. I started to get celebrated and recognized at school. I was able to get and secure a full ride scholarship. I was able to go to the NFL and do something that hardly anybody can ever do. So the change of controlling the controllables has allowed me to be the kind of person that is sitting here today and has been able to kind of overcome like all the obstacles that were faced back in the days.
You talk about, of course, Controlling the Controllables is the name of your book, and that's pretty recent. Let me take you back, though, to your childhood, to when you were developing as an athlete, to when you were, we see athletes on the field at Ohio State, and it's like, well, there's the finished product. Look how good they are, and look how well they're performing for us. Yeah. How did you start out in sports? And how did that influence how you developed?
Sports has always been like a big, major contributor to my life. Like my father and my brother, they loved sports. Actually, like my father, he came from he was born in the rural South, and he and all of his brothers played baseball. And an interesting fun fact, my uncle, Isaiah, his oldest brother, he became an all-star pitcher in the Negro Leagues for the Memphis Red Sox.
Wow.
Yeah. And so my father, he was someone who was also a big-time sports person. So I realized how important sports were in my family and to him. So that's why I wanted to play sports. And then as I got older, he was a baseball player, so I played baseball and basketball. And then once I got to high school, I got a chance to play football. And once again, unfortunately, what I realized about my love and affection for football was, football allowed me to exact a lot of pain and play physical and hit and hurt other people because I didn't feel like I could do that at home. I felt like that is what was happening to me. So I could then take that revenge and on other people. So that was the reason why I really got into sports and why I got into football. And once I realized that it was the kind of thing that if I put my energy and my all into, and then also I had a couple of teachers and coaches that breathed life to me, that really caused like this moment for me to be able to start seeing and knowing and understanding that, man, I actually have a future in this sport right here.
You were in Lorain at that time, right? You grew up in Lorain?
Yeah, I grew up in Lorain. You guys, anybody know about Lorain? Yeah. That's too bad for you guys. Right? Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure they're happy the way you represent your hometown.
No, I love Lorain. I am Lorain. Lorain is it's the quintessential like blue collar city. Mm-hmm. It's blue collar. It's hard working. It's tough, and I'm from that, and it's hard work. And that's what I love about being from the Midwest, being from Ohio, being from Lorain. Is that you don't get handed anything. You have to earn everything you want.
So how did Ohio State come about?
Ohio State came about by, I was being recruited by all these different teams and all these schools. And people don't realize this, my very first recruiting trip was to University of Michigan. So I know. I heard some
fighting words.
I know, tell me about it. So as a senior in high school, I go to Michigan and Bo Schembechler puts his arm around me and tells me I'm gonna be the next great Michigan man. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that. Yeah. I'm like, you're absolutely right, Bo. And but then I took a trip a few weeks later to Columbus. And
so who would the coach have been back then?
That was John Cooper was the head coach. Yeah, it was his second year. And he was under a lot of turmoil at the time because he had just made this crazy statement. After finishing like for the first year, he said something along the lines of, "We have too many slow white guys on our team." And as you can imagine, that went over really well with the, with all the media. But then
I do remember that.
You do remember that? Yeah, it was a long time ago.
That's how old I am.
Yeah. Well, thanks a lot there, guy. There's some young person in the audience like, who is John Cooper? Like, who is that guy? Yeah. So, man, and once I got around this space, once I got to meet the guys here, they really sold me on the idea of bringing my state university back versus going somewhere else that was already established.
And you weren't a slow white guy.
I was not. Yeah. I was not. That was a good point there.
Yeah. So you came to Ohio State and obviously had a stellar career here. I talked recently with another athlete from Ohio State, a wrestler, And one of the things he said to me was, the thing about the wrestling team is wrestlers are ready to take on the world. He said football players are ready to take on the world as long as they've got their teammates with them. How important was teammates and working together as a collective unit? Unlike wrestlers who are out there all on their own, being part of a team is different, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I think football is the most team sport that you can do. Just think about it. To be successful on a play, you have 11 guys working against another 11 guys, and they all have to be on point doing their particular job for you to have success. And the success is not scoring a touchdown, it's getting a first down, so getting 10 yards. So football was amazing. It was everything to me. It helped me grow significantly. It helped me understand that there are a lot of other people that are different than me, who have come up in backgrounds that are different than mine. And if you want to be successful, you have to learn how to communicate with someone that may not communicate the same way that you communicate. And you also got to figure out a way to maybe motivate and inspire like the guys around you, and then also be open to like other people giving you direction and critiques. So learning all of those wonderful things in sports is, these are things that you can take with you for the rest of your life.
I also think, though, Ohio State players, and I assume this is true for elite athletes at all of these big colleges, but here in Columbus in particular, Ohio State is our NFL. Yeah. And the social fabric of this community swirls around Ohio State football on Saturdays.
Yeah.
That's a lot of pressure for an 18-year-old kid, isn't it?
It can be, for sure, yeah. I don't think the guys that are actually playing, though, are really thinking and feeling about, that way. They have, a lot of those guys have already been conditioned to be in the spotlight. They've been conditioned to be the breadwinner of their family or the most recognized and celebrated person. So actually, if you're that person in high school, it's a huge step up going to Ohio State. But it's kind of like part of the, it's kind of part of the job. You realize that, not only are you going up against the best players in the country, but you actually have to learn your job in front of a lot of people. And that's tricky and that's trying. And that's probably why so many guys really, the guys that come in don't necessarily, leave at the same time.
Well, and Lorain and the campus of Ohio State probably have about the same population. So what kind of a transition was that for you?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're on the campus of the Ohio State University.
Yeah.
You handled it very well, though, didn't you?
You know what? Thank you. That's very nice of you to say. I'd like to believe I did, but it was a huge, eye-opening experience. Coming from like a place like Lorain, it was like the 10th largest city. So it was small compared to Ohio, Columbus and Ohio State's campus. It was eye-opening, to be honest. There was a lot of people did not look like me. It was uncomfortable. I had to learn how to move in this brand new space, and I didn't really have a lot of like support outside of that. So you learn a lot about yourself when you are placed in situations where you have to be uncomfortable, and immediately you learn you either have to adjust or you're going to disappear. And I adjusted, and that's why I was able to get through there.
You adjusted well enough to go to the NFL. So tell us about that transition, because again, Lorain to Ohio State, but Ohio State, I think your first team was Chicago?
Yes.
Ohio State to that stage, what was that like?
People ask me that often. Imagine the jump from high school to big time D1 college. Like, it's a huge jump, all you high school athletes out there, you guys know. It's a huge jump. The same jump is from like big time D1 to the NFL. It's basically like a 32 all-star teams. And it was tricky, and it was huge to me, first and foremost. It was everything that I wanted. I had worked so hard in my life to put myself in a position to be recognized and celebrated as the best, and to finally get a chance to do that, it was validating. But once I got there, I realized that it wasn't all that I had made it out to be. As a kid, I got football cards and I'm watching all these guys on TV in the Super Bowl. But when you get there, you realize it's a business. It's cutthroat. And as soon as you're on a team in the NFL, they're trying to find your replacement. So they moved me from like running back to fullback, and I had to learn this brand new position. So not only was I going to the top level, but now I was going to the top level and then learning a new position against the best players in the world. I learned a lot about myself. I adjusted and I got my bearings under me. And then once I started to believe in like this new position and who I could be, I really started to take off.
You say you learned a lot about yourself. What did you learn about yourself? I mean, what was it teaching you about you?
I had this idea of who I wanted to be. You guys remember Walter Payton? Anybody? Yeah. The young people are like, I have no idea who that is. Yeah. And he was my favorite player, and I loved him. And I thought, I want to be him. I want to be just like that guy. So all throughout, like that was my motivation, like through high school and college. And then, look how the world works. And they send me to the Chicago Bears. And then I have a chance to be Walter Payton. And immediately, as soon as I get there, they tell me, nah, we want you to play a different position. We want you to play fullback. We want you to be Matt Suey. And I'm like, I'm not really a Matt Suey kind of guy. And once I clicked in and accepted it and understood, and I threw my all into that new position, they made me a fullback, but I made fullback mine. And then I started to, once I got better at it, then I could start bringing like my old running back stuff into like fullback. And then by the end of the year, like I had really reached like this spot in this space where I felt extremely comfortable. I mean, I was the rookie of the year for the Bears. The Chicago media nicknamed me the Ultra Back. That's a great nickname, if I may. I was expecting a little more reaction from you guys. And so I'm the Ultra Back, and I got this new identity. I'm the rookie of the year. I'm successful. Everyone's cheering me. And at that moment, I realized, man, I'm so much better at this new position than I ever was at the old position. So what I learned in the league, first and foremost, was that whatever I put my all into, it was mine. Whatever I could say to myself, that's going to be me. So I started to become like more positive. I started to not treat myself as poorly as I have. I'm sure a bunch of you guys can relate. Like we are so hard on ourselves. I don't know, man. It's like it's easier for us to extend grace to others because we're kind. But when it comes to ourselves, like we don't do the same thing. And I was absolutely one of those kind of people. So once I started to be a little nicer to myself, more positive, and truly believe in like what I could do, man, my life really took off.
You know, we have seen, though, that that's not always the case, even from guys who start out here at Ohio State, and we all think, oh, they're going to have such a promising career, and then the wheels fall off. Yeah. And I'm thinking of specifically Darren Lee, who's, I used to work with his mom, and you've probably all seen what's happened to him. Not only did his career fall apart, his life fell apart. Yeah. You know, so how do you resist the temptations that we've seen other players fall into, the drugs, the alcohol, the fights, and I'm sure you've witnessed that firsthand. What separates the person who follows your path and the first person who maybe goes the wrong way?
Well, I appreciate that. But I want to say from the top at the beginning, like, there was no difference between myself and that other guy and Darren Lee and all we all had to end up ultimately going through like very similar things. I'll try and explain it this way. Imagine you were like a doctor. You wanted to be a doctor. And so to be a doctor, you got to go to undergrad, and you got to go to med school, and you got to go to your residencies, and you got to do this other stuff. And you got to put all this time, and that's your identity. And all that time to be a doctor. And you finally get to be a doctor. And you're doing it, and you're great at it, and everyone loves you, and it's amazing. And then in 4 years, they say, hey, you're done. You're not allowed to practice anymore. You're done. You're good. Let's go. And immediately you then start thinking like, damn, like that was my everything. Who am I now? What is my identity without this thing that was so instrumental in my life? So myself and Darren Lee and all football players, like the reason the transition is so difficult is because there's been so much of our lives in that identity. And I didn't realize that was me. I thought there was so much more to my life. I thought I was like a Renaissance man. And I was.
You were the Ultra Man.
I was the Ultra Man and back, all that stuff. And Collins give me new nicknames now. I'm the Ultra Man. So there was me, and I started to realize like, man, who am I? I thought that there was more to me than this, but once it was taken away, then I realized how instrumental it was in my life. And what other people don't realize is that as men, we grow up a certain kind of way. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. So it was be tough, be a man, don't cry. You don't tell anyone that you're afraid. You don't share anything that's sensitive. There's a certain stoic kind of way that you have to exist. And when that happens, like the trauma and the wounds that you have, that have happened in your life, you just kind of take them and you compartmentalize them and you push them to the side. And then you throw yourself into this thing that you love. And that was football. And now football is gone. And now my identity is like, damn, who am I? And all of that stuff that I had compartmentalized and pushed to the side, all of that stuff came right back to the front. So now I have to deal with all this stuff that, man, I didn't deal with from growing up. And I have to do it in the shadows of people calling me a has-been. So it's the kind of space that has guys like really like not sure of themselves and they lose their footing. And what do we do when we're unsure of things? We turn to alcohol, we turn to keeping ourselves extremely busy. Some of us turn to being like the extra like promiscuous. So it's like you try and lose yourself, you numb yourself. And that has happened to, I would say, probably 95% of the guys that after they get done leaving. So the reason I was able to be here sitting with you today and not just be like a statistic, I went through all of that stuff, but I had to go to therapy. I had to, I truly had to do like inner work. And to be honest, I messed up a lot. I hurt a lot of people. I damaged a lot of people. And those are things that I'm gonna have to like deal with for like the rest of my life. But once I realized that I didn't want to be that person anymore, and there was more to my life, you have to deal with your wounds. You got to deal with your trauma. If you don't, these are the stories we reading about.
I've often wondered about, like you said, football players. So many of you guys go through, some starting at elementary school, developing this elite ability, this athletic prowess that takes over your life and does become your identity. That's why I always look at these young guys on the team at Ohio State. They're not all going on to the NFL, but football's been their life. And I think there is kind of a crash effect when that comes to an end, if that's how you envisioned your future and that isn't the way that your future goes. Yeah. But you ended up coming back to Ohio State. So tell me why you came back and what you were doing there, how you took these lessons and used them at the university.
Okay, yeah, sure. So after my playing days, then I transitioned. I did radio and TV broadcasting. I did that for like 4 years. And then I started selling like home mortgages for JP Morgan Chase. I did that for 4 years. That was awful. I'm joking.
Thank you, people from JP Morgan Chase. Nothing personal.
Nothing about that. Like, we love Chase and all that. Yeah, of course. But like me, myself, I was not someone, that was not my space at all. But it was sales. And it was really booming. And so, yeah, it made sense. Someone offered me the opportunity and I did it for 4 years. And then it crashed. And I knew I didn't care that much about it. So
So would this have been around 2008 when the market went down?
There you go. Yep. Yes, ma'am. And so from right there,
markets.
huh?
I know crashes.
You did, okay. So from right there, I started to reevaluate, and I thought, like, man, the thing that I love so much is sports, and I love my university. So I went back to the university, and I did it the good old-fashioned way, man. I applied to jobs, and I got an opportunity with the Fisher College of Business, and I started working there for 2 years, and then a spot opened up in the athletic department, so I switched over there. And then 15 years later, I left Ohio State. So, but going back there there was so much of my identity, and I was a product of this athletic department, and I got a chance to be firsthand working with like student athletes, the people that I loved and cared about, and the place had changed my life in meaningful ways. And I wanted to be able to try and do that for other student athletes.
What lessons did you want them to learn from you? Because you had been around the cycle of, oh, I'm up here, oh, I'm down here. Poor J.P. Morgan Chase, you were down here with them.
Right.
What was the lesson?
Oh, Chase is doing just fine. Jamie Dimon and those guys are doing just fine.
I think they're going to survive.
Yeah,
Without you.
They'll be fine. Yeah, they'll be just fine. Yeah.
But what lesson did you hope they would learn from you? What do you think that you can teach to these young guys who are just at the precipice of all of this?
The great thing about that is I was that guy. So I could speak from experience. And you carry a certain amount of cachet when you've been through it already. So I always had that. And I was also able to like look at things from a different angle. I was not going to be the person that they had enough people in their ears helping them with what they needed to do on the field. They had enough people in their ears telling them that academics are important. You got to get your grades. I cared more about like what happens to them afterwards and being more of a well-rounded person when it comes to things like financial literacy, learning how to network, understanding that like a positive attitude not only helps your life, but it helps the people around you. And being able to like be like the kind of person that can actually be a leader regardless of the area and industry that you're in. So I wanted to help those guys with that kind of stuff. So I focused on those things. And with that, I would say like within like maybe 7 years of my work at Ohio State, I created an entire program, and it was called the Complete Athlete Program. And it focused on those things primarily. And that's why I love Gene Smith so much. He knew that this was not one of those things that it wasn't sexy. It wasn't going to bring in a whole bunch of money, but it was going to help some student athletes that had already exhausted all of their eligibility and help them on their path after the game. Like, to me, that meant everything.
So this program that you had, was it something that each of them went through, or how did you offered it to them? Yeah. How did you connect with the students?
Yeah, it was offered to all student athletes. It wasn't just football. I mean, football, basketball, there were baseball, there were gymnastics people there. But though it was in the infancy stages, so we just wanted people they had to volunteer that they wanted to be in it. We didn't want to force it on anybody. So we were able to learn a lot. We had good case studies. We had some really good success. And then it had gone so well that I wanted to take it to other places. Well, I didn't want to. Like my partner, Luke, he wanted to take it to other places because it was great. And then I ran into an issue with OSU Legal.
Let's talk about them now.
Everyone's getting it. Everybody can get it. So OSU Legal was like, there's a conflict. And there absolutely was. So I had to make a choice. And I chose Ohio State instead of my job, my dream, the thing that gave me life, my business partner who I loved and adored. I chose O State. I chose being comfortable and safe and benefits. Yeah,
Health insurance.
That. Health insurance. I needed that. And 401k. I chose that. And for the next 7 years, I regretted it.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And so what made you change again? Because you eventually left Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
And let's talk about this, the company that you have now, this CMP.
EMP.
EMP.
Elite Mindset and Performance.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is reflective of all the lessons that you've learned. Tell me about that.
Sure. After like sitting there and basically wallowing in the fact that I didn't do what I should have done, I would beat myself up repeatedly over and over. And I watched Luke was my partner. Luke went and took the business and grew it, and it was amazing. He was doing great things. I watched him on social media and we talked. We were still best friends. And it would eat at me every single time. It was like we were parents of a little kid, and then I voluntarily left. And then he raised the kid, and the kid was big and strong, and he was a man. And then I wanted to come back in, and he's like, yeah. What's your name? He didn't know me anymore. So
you didn't even pay child support.
I no child support, nothing. So after that, I was like, in 2022, it just clicked. I don't have like a fancy special, way of it happening. I was tired of being comfortable. It was like it was calling me. Like every day, it became more and more prominent of what I should be doing. And I went and saw somebody speaking. I got invited to see someone speak, and they were telling me that you'd be a great speaker. And I saw them, and they weren't great orators. They were someone who had a great charm. He had charm and charisma and a command of the stage. And I was like, that's me. I can do that. I want to do that. And from that point right there, I retired from my job, and I threw it all into this because that was the space that was going to give me like autonomy. I could be an entrepreneur. I was no longer just going to be like a worker and taking direction. So once I did that, man, it's like it was scary and it was tough and it was difficult. I had never been an entrepreneur before. I was always a worker and a saver. So stepping into that space, it was scary, but it opened up like all these possibilities. And my life has been like forever changed by doing that.
But to do that, to take the stage, you have to have a message.
Yeah.
You have to have something that you need to share with people.
Yeah.
So what did you see as your message that when you got to the stage, this is what you wanted people to take away?
Okay. I went back in my mind. The question that I had been asked more often than any other question was, how in the hell did you make it from Lorain to levels of success that like people could only dream of? And if you look at my journey and you look at my background and where I come from, it was unlikely, to say the least. And so I started to think about all the important things that happened from Lorain to here. And I identified these 8 controllable things. They were instrumental in me being able to be the person that I wanted to be. It set me apart from my peers and other people. I took those 8 things, I turned it into a framework, and I started to speak on that. And that's Control the Controllables. So I spoke on Control the Controllables, like things about like belief and positivity and how you have to be committed, how you have to adapt, and you have to be resilient. And there are things that you have to do. These are the things you got to do if you want to be like where you want to be. And I just continued it. I could see it spark in person to person, from city to city. And I started getting better and better with it. And I started to reform the message even more. And that's how I was able to get to this point. And from there, it had gone so well that I was able to turn it into a book. And once again, it was like tapping into those same controllables. The same controllables that helped me get from Lorain to here were the same controllables that helped me after I crashed, after Ohio State. After the NFL, after my time at Ohio State, I had a failed marriage. So after that, those same controllables continued to pick me right back up and put me forward. And now it's picking me up and helping me do things that I never thought I could do, like write a book. So I am a living, breathing testimony of the words in that book and the words I say on that stage.
So how did you come up with the title, Control the Controllables? Is that because that was the messaging that you were using most often, that there are things in your life that you can control, that you can decide, but let's be honest, there are a lot of things that you can't control.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So how did you come up with that title and that messaging?
The messaging was, I thought it was simple. And I thought Control the Controllables is, it's catchy. I had heard it a bunch of times, and it seems to resonate. It was easy to remember. And it applies to every single facet of like what I'm talking about. So to me, it just made sense for me to go ahead and hijack that, that term right there. But in terms of like the framework and putting that stuff all together, there are things to me that are just like important. So technically, people may look at me and think that I'm like a motivational speaker, and that's cool. I appreciate it. I respect that, but that's not really who I am. I'm not about like motivation and inspiration and feeling how you feel. I think control is one of those things that you have no matter what. But it's up to you to be able to tap into it. So to me, that feels more powerful. It feels like that allows people to kind of step away from pointing fingers and putting things on like where they were born, or this person doesn't like me, or like this environment, this is not the right type of environment for me. Like, it allows you to take agency over like how you move forward. So I'm all about that. And that's what Control the Controllables, and that's why I was able to kind of put the framework together that way and package it in a way that I think pushes to people that you can do this.
In the midst of all this, you got involved in maternal health, and that seems like something that is unexpected for someone in your position, this manly sport, and you're controlling the controllables. Oh, okay, let's talk about pregnancy. So tell me how you got involved in that.
Wow, I get emotional, I'm sorry. All right, so you haven't read the book, Colleen, so I know you don't know this. So I was born on December 23rd, 1970, 2 days before Christmas. And my mom died giving birth to me.
Oh, I did not know that.
I know, it's okay. And my father, he lost his wife, the love of his life, at 33 years old.
Oh my God.
And he had a 12-year-old son, a 9-year-old daughter, and an infant. And he had to raise us, and it was tough, and it was really difficult in Lorain. And, people always feel sorry for me, but I feel sorry for my brother and sister because they lost their mom. I just never had a mom. And for so much of my life, I was guilty and ashamed. And I would never, ever talk about it. And I have friends to this day that didn't know that I was, that had happened, that I grew up that way. So, so when I think about like my mom, like it's still, imagine being 50 years old and still not talking about like this thing that was so crucial to your life. And these controllables helped me flip the narrative from I lost my mom to, man, I'm gonna celebrate her life and her time on this earth. So I started the nonprofit. It provides health, wellness, and mental health resources for families that lost their mother. And that's how I got connected to maternal health.
You know, I'm sitting here thinking about your father not only dealing with grief, but with a newborn. His trauma must have impacted you and become your trauma.
Absolutely.
As you were growing up, and your older siblings growing up. They must be so proud of you now, though.
They are. I lost my father 7 years ago before I stepped into the space. And my pops, you're absolutely right. And thank you for bringing light to that, because sometimes, like when I talk about this, I think the salacious part is that, he was abused and his father was mean to him and all those things. And the message can kind of come about and sound like one-sided, when in actuality, he was my hero. He was a survivor. He did the best that he could with all that he had. This man came from the rural South, from Arkansas, and he was born in the Depression, raised through Jim Crow segregation. He saw burning crosses. He had to pick cotton as a kid. So, like, he had all of those wounds and trauma, and then makes it to Lorain and loses the love of his life at 33 years old, with no grief counseling, no professional therapy. So, like, this man had a world of hurt and grief that was just really unrealized, and unfortunately that stuff bled all over me and all over my brother and sister. And he did the best that he could. He didn't let family members or anyone else come take us away. He raised us, and instilled like great qualities and morals and values in us. And he truly just did the best that he could. And you realize as you get older that, you have to, not only have to deal with your own trauma, you have to deal with the trauma that, that has been passed down as well.
I think it's remarkable, though, that where you are today, part of your accomplishment, part of the person that you are and that you're able to go out and speak about is focused on mindset. I think you must have recognized early on that what's going on up here is going to, because it's remarkable that you're such a positive person.
Thank you.
It really is. So mindset for you, is that what you really want to impart to people, that this is something you can control?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the space that I'm most comfortable with, because like I said before, I'm from the 70s, 80s. It was more of a mindset. Like, you can do this. You just got to try hard. You got to keep working. You got to do this. You got this. Like, I am that guy for sure. I've been playing sports all these years. But the difference between like me and I think some of these other people that talk about mindset is that the performance aspect, and that is more tied to mental health. So it's a combination of mindset and your performance. It's your mental health part. And I think putting those things together allows you the best possible space, because you can be the most try-hard guy or girl that you want to be. I'm focused and dedicated, I'm going to do this, and you work really, really hard. But if you have undiagnosed bipolar disorder, or if you are stressed, or you super anxious, you're not going to be able to fulfill like this mindset kind of stuff that you want to do. So to me, it's holistically, you put it all together where you're dealing with the entire person. And I think that's what separates EMP from some of the other things out there.
What made you decide to put all this into a book?
Into a book? I always wanted to write a book, and I feel like I have a very interesting story, and but it's hard. It was hard to write. It's hard to write that memoir, and the speech and what I talk about with EMP has gone so well, and it had helped and affected so many lives. I thought, like, man, it just made sense that I could actually put it into a book, package it, and then people that do not have a chance to see me do a keynote speech, they can still feel like the lessons. They can still feel like how like this framework and how this model could possibly change their lives. That's the only way. It was really that simple.
So how much traveling are you doing? I imagine that you are, to get this message out there, not just the book, but this, your belief set. How much are you traveling, and what's your life like right now?
My life is a whirlwind right now. I am the CEO of EMP, but the real boss is my partner in all things, Tracy Cleveland. And Tracy, thank God, she keeps me like in line, and I know where to go and what we need to do. But we, since the end of February to this, we have traveled every single week, every single. Wow. I mean, and we're talking Omaha, Nebraska, Boise, Idaho. Been to Dallas, Texas 3 times. Some parts of Florida, like just like that. Like, and it's I think we're still like in the infancy stages of EMP. But as it continues to grow, I mean, I think it's just going to get busier. So it's been a whirlwind, but it's been something that has been like extremely fulfilling because I'm calling my shots. I'm doing this on my terms. For so long, I had like imposter syndrome. I thought that the only reason that people liked me and cared about me was because of Ohio State or because I played in the NFL. And I have realized that the person that has been responsible for all of this the entire time has been me. And once I stepped into that, it's allowed me to now like step into this space like with the same kind of like energy and effort that I had with everything else in my life.
What have audiences been like? Are they receptive to your messages?
Oh, they love it. They love the message and they love me.
I think I want to come to your house for a cup of confidence.
I can give it to you. I got you. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like when I travel around, like it's sport. Like people think that I'm just going to be talking about sports, and I'm sure that they have seen a lot of former players talking, doing their speeches and stuff. But I think within like 2 minutes, you realize that like my story is really your story, and sports is just the engine for me. That was just my journey. But the things that I talk about and the stories and the way that I had to either grow up and handle adversity, it's the same thing that we all have to figure out. So as soon as they kind of see that, I think it ends up like resonating even more for them.
But you did come from this world of sports, but the application now of the lessons that you've learned are being given to business leaders and educational leaders, and it's not just sports focused.
No.
How is it, do you think, to take these lessons from the world of sports and apply them to business? How does that work?
I think it's I think sports have been like revered in such a way, like in our society, that it's kind of easy to look at these guys and make it more aspirational. But like the truth is like they're just like you, and I think that's kind of like why like former athletes, people really like to try and get them in like sales, like really competitive spaces like medical sales, pharmaceutical sales, things like that, because they come from a background where they have learned to, you got to coexist with a bunch of people that are not like you. They are like you, but then also not like you. You have to find like the things that make them tick and help them, and then receive that same kind of help as well. And they become like really good partners, like in like businesses that have a lot of pressure. So to me, it makes sense why like a former athlete that is used to playing in team sports, how they can pull off of leadership, they can pull off of like their past experiences, how that stuff will actually turn into like them being successful, like whatever their new ventures are.
And as you go around the country and you talk to people, who do you think you're reaching most? Is it men? Is it women? Is it, because, I think I can see women really relating to your story, even though people like me don't know very much about sports, but what you've been through and how you used your mind control, to change your life. So who do you think relates to you more?
I really think it's everyone. Seriously. I like to believe I'm a skilled communicator, and there are definite areas and angles of me that men resonate with, but women as well. But I think we together, like I really think like the Control the Controllables is something that everyone can relate to. Like all of us, we all need a little push in with resiliency and patience and positivity. Like these are things that, it's not for just one gender or one race or old or young. Like it's one of those things that transcends all of that stuff. So my message clearly, I probably brought in because someone thinks it's about sports, but very quickly they find out that, this is about you.
Yeah, that's great. We, as a tradition for this program, Julianne Hobaugh, she's editor of Columbus CEO Magazine, and she gets to come up and ask the final questions. So, Julianne, take over.
Good morning, Raymont.
Good morning.
Your collegiate and professional careers have given you such a wide variety of experiences. All of that led you to the belief that your true calling for this next phase of your life was as an entrepreneur. What can you tell other folks who are sitting there going, well, maybe I think I might want to do that, and they're in that job that you were, and they're like, this isn't making me happy. I really want to do something else. What advice do you give them?
I would tell that person to take the step. Like, you have to do it. I think the people that we want to be are always on the other side of that huge decision. Yeah. See, it's really easy to just be comfortable, to stay in what you know, what you've been taught and what you've groomed for your entire life. I think it's easier to stay in that space and then lament that, man, what I could have done. If I had done that, if I had gotten the opportunity, I could do that. If I had the support, if I had the resources, I could do that. Like, it's easier to be that person, but to take ownership, to realize that, what, actually, I am capable of doing that. I didn't do this stuff until 50 years old. Like 50 is the time that I realized that I'm gonna do this for myself. Like I can't leave this earth and not have this. I have an opportunity to live a dream, and I think I would kick myself, and I'd be so disappointed in me if I look back at that. If my kids or someone that looked up to me were in that position, I'd be so happy and excited and fired up and trying to help them do that. Like it's like me being a hypocrite for me not doing it myself. So to actually step into that space and to take the leap, because it's going to be scary. It's anytime you got to do something that you're not used to doing, it's going to be challenging. But like the person that you can become, the impact that you can make, it's all on the other side of that really difficult decision. I'd say do it.
Well, we appreciate that you did it, and we're very happy that you came and shared your story with us today.
Thank you.
Raymont.
Thank you.
Really good.
Good morning, everyone. I normally get up because people are clapping, and when I leave, people aren't clapping. So that was my my tune. So my name is Pat Cornelius. I'm the office managing partner of Barnes & Thornburg. We are a full-service law firm of about 850 lawyers across 25 offices and a long-time sponsor of the CEO series. So I want to thank Colleen and Raymont for a very interesting conversation this morning. And I guess in listening to the conversation and Raymond, a lot of the points you made, I kind of come across with three words, and not just the strength of them, but the interdependence of them. And that's hard work, resilience, and the importance of self-awareness, and how those are kind of all interconnected. You can work really hard, but if it's not towards your purpose, you're not going to be successful or happy. And I think that's one of the lessons, that I'm taking from this. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. Sure. So, and now for, I know what you all came for, the Crimson Cup coffee winners. So the following, and thank you for being kind on the names today. Cornell Bradbury, Daryl Butler, Karen Hemanowski, that was the challenging one, Nate Knowlton, Tom Patras, Sarah Pryor, Tracy Cleveland, CJ Saunders, Mark Saxon, and Stacy Sleeper Jenkins. Feel free to stop at the front desk on the way out to pick up your gift card. And everyone, please check out the Columbus Chamber website for the next events. And thank you. And off to the rain.
This applaud for him.
Oh yes, thank you.